I suspect that Jon Fetterman and I disagree on most things, many things, but uh, I have noted and been impressed by the fact that on three key issues, he has spoken out in a way that's very consistent with what I've said and what I believe. And first is Israel. I think he's been a strong voice. I'm Dave McCormick. I'm running for the Senate in Pennsylvania as a Republican nominee. I'm running against Bob Casey, who has been a career politician and really a rubber stamp for Joe Biden. I've been a strong proponent of America showing solidarity for Israel. And so we spent about 36 hours on the ground, and it was unbelievably rich and just eye-opening. We spent a few hours where you had gone to Kfar Aza and saw, there's 100 Israelis died there. As you know, it was brutal. You're walking through the streets and the buildings and the bullet holes and the grenade fragments. There was that one house there where a young woman and her boyfriend were locked in the safe room, and the exchange of text was on the wall between her and her father, where the terrorists are sort of closing in on her. She hears them, and then 11:16 a.m. The text stops because she's been killed. So it just made clear to me that we're dealing with pure evil, and that as an American and as America, we need to show our solidarity in supporting Israel in really destroying Hamas. You can't live side by side with people who want to come across 600 meters of border and slit your throat in the middle of the night. Ultimately, the root cause of all this is President Biden's appeasement of Iran. It's the way that President Biden has dealt with that terrorist threat and really given it the capability, given it the resources to underwrite terror throughout the Middle East and throughout the world. And Bob Casey, every step of the way, has been an enormous supporter of this, has led us to this point where we have terrorist proxies throughout the Middle East, underwritten by Iran, that are attacking U.S. interests, attacking our closest allies, attacking U.S. sailors and soldiers. That is the original sin. When I talk about Bob Casey not having moral clarity, I think Jon Fetterman has had moral clarity, and I admire that, and I've said that publicly. And Jon Fetterman's comments on the border. Jon Fetterman has spoken out and said the border is a disaster and we have to do something about it. And that was very inconsistent with this party's position. And third, in calling for the firing and the stepping down of Senator Menendez. So in three examples, I've found myself surprisingly in strong agreement with Jon Fetterman. And then, the most important thing right now is the country. And so I'm not trying to score political points. When someone, even who's on the other side of the aisle, someone who could, was an opponent, is saying things that make sense and are right for America, I wanted to call out and say I agree with him. On matters of what's great for America, and matters of supporting our most important ally, I'd want to work with anybody who had a similar mindset and a similar set of goals. And so if I'm fortunate enough to be elected and Senator Fetterman continues to have the positions he's had, I'd welcome the opportunity to work with him on Israel, because I think it's a linchpin to stability in the Middle East, to freedom and democracy. And I think we could potentially be good allies. And you have in Bob Casey a wildly inconsequential person, but beyond that, he's voted 98% of the time with Joe Biden. So he's been a rubber stamp, a career politician that's been a rubber stamp for Joe Biden. And so the contrast that I say on the campaign trail, I say, listen, if you like the way things are going, if you like the status quo, you should not vote for me. You should vote for Bob Casey, because Bob Casey is the status quo. Bob Casey is a continuation of the failed policies of Joe Biden. If you want somebody who's going to shake things up, someone who's going to be an independent voice, somebody who's going to fight for what he believes in, someone who will speak loudly and strongly for what's best for Pennsylvanians and what's best for America, that's who I am.